Hey there, welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be just a bunch of random smaller projects that I need to get done. And so just figured I'd take you along for the ride, and we'll get some of this knocked out. So first of all, we're starting with this little rolling desk kind of thing that I built a while ago. And what I need to do is lower the height of it, because I'm going to use this for the jointer, the planer. So that it's easy to roll around the planer. The planer weighs 100 pounds, and so it's not fun to have to lift it up from underneath, where I'm storing it, and put it on something this tall and all that. So I'm gonna make it a lot easier to deal with, and it'll just live on top of this table. And so what needs to happen is I need to trim each of these 2x4s. I've already marked where I need to trim them down to make this lower. And so that's what we're going to do now. I put this together with screws, so I'm just going to take the screws out and take the boards out and go cut them on the chop saw, and then put them back on, and it should just fall right back into place, just be a little bit shorter. So let's get it done. Alright, so I'm just going to use the skill saw actually on these instead of taking them off completely. It'll just be a little bit easier that way. Well, and as you heard, I knocked over half the shop just getting it over there because of how big it is. But that'll work a lot better. Center it up a little bit more. At least further in. And we can store the screws underneath. So they're out of the way. That'll make this so much easier to deal with, at least for now, until I get a different workspace. throw some scrap wood under here. Alright, and that's where it's going to live, like I said, temporarily. Well, not temporarily, pretty much permanently until I get a new workspace at some point. So it can at least be moved around easily with the wheels. The only unfortunate thing is this, that was one counter space in here that I no longer have. I do have that one, but it obviously it needs work as well to get stuff moved off of it. So that's probably not going to happen in this video, but eventually build some more drawers for the shop to get some stuff put away and clear up some workspaces. So let's move on to the next small project. Obviously, I'm in desperate need of an outfeed table for this new table saw, but I don't have one yet. But that is on the list of things to do at some point. Not a big deal for this. If this was something that was like super important, obviously I would have taken more care. So what this is going to be, it's just a piece of plywood, scrap piece of plywood I just cut at a 45. And I've made a lot of these around here, but basically I'm just going to make a French cleat to hang some stuff on the wall. And so, like I said, this is something that wasn't like a big deal to make sure it was perfect and pretty. So wasn't too concerned with it falling on the floor like that. But yeah, ideally I would have a outfeed table to catch stuff and not have that happen, obviously. And that's the French cleat setup. It makes it really easy to attach. So basically you attach something to this top board and it just fits behind there and doesn't come out. And so since this is something that's temporary, it's only going to be for some lightweight. So it's going to be for these battery chargers. It's not going to be a problem. Typically, where I've done every single other French cleat in here, it's against a flat wall, but this actually, you know, there's this board sticking out right here, and that's, you know, just happened to be the center of the table where I want these to go, so here's what it is. But it's not a big deal for this particular thing. I've hung up cabinets using French cleats, and it works super well for that. You just want to make sure that it's flat against the wall for something like that. And again, this is like a temporary setup. I just want this desk cleaned off so that I can actually use it. And eventually, when I get a new workspace, this stuff will get redone. And that's the other good thing about French cleats, is I can take this back off the wall, and this is already pre-mounted for these. And when I go get to a new workspace, I can just install this onto the wall, and then we're good to go. Just throw it on. So that's like how this setup over here is. Same way. So as long as the screwdriver doesn't get stuck behind it. Oh, you're not even looking. There. Okay. So essentially, makes it very easy to move stuff around and put it back. So that's going to make it super easy for when I go to move any of the cabinets. Same way, you just pull the cabinet off the wall, super easy. So that's why I do as much with French cleats as possible. It just makes everything much easier. So anyways, back to this. I need to get these mounted to this board here. So let's do that. All right, that'll work. The other reason that this board actually works out, because there's a space back here, is because these screws. I'm using some old screws that I've got left over from other projects, and so I didn't have any that were, well, I do have some that are short enough to not go through the wood all the way, but I don't want to use those when I've got, you know, other screws. These are essentially used screws, so instead of using brand new ones, I'm just reusing those. So anyways, the screws stick out of the back of the board by like 1/8 of an inch, so this way it's not a problem because the back of the board is off the wall. So that works pretty well. Now let's see how this works. It works. This one, the mounting screws are vertical. I guess I could put one in the bottom here. Yeah, we might be able to do that, but it's not essential. I mean, it works just fine. So let me go get that one. Again, this is a temporary thing just to get these off the table right now. Whenever I get a new workspace, this is all going to be changed anyway, so it'll be a more secure setup. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Now they just got to be plugged in. Cool. All right, another mini project done. Moving on to the next one. The next task I want to tackle is less of a workshop project and just more of something I need to do. And I'm gonna attach a string across here, and I have these basil plants that I want to dry out, so I'm just gonna hang them once I attach the string across here. So not really a workshop project per se, but it's just something I'm doing. So let's do it. Next thing is going to be this shelf that I built a little while ago as part of the interior remodeling here, and I never really did much with it except just throw a box on top of it. But I didn't really have a plan in mind when I built this. I just knew that, you know, the more storage I had around here, the better it would be. So what I want to do now is add on to this and probably just a piece of plywood somewhere right in here, and then just put a bottom on it and probably a shelf. A stationary shelf in there, and that'll give me a few more places to put things, possibly even those bags could go on it. I'm not sure, but the point is, the more shelves and storage areas I have around here, the better. I've kind of got that over there, which has a bunch of stuff on top, and so there's things I can put in it. There's also, let me move the camera down. There's also all these pieces of wood. So there's a lot of things I could do to store in the shelves. So we're gonna do that, and then this side, I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do. It's something hanging, I'm thinking. Do like a hanging shelf over here, but we'll see how it goes. So let's get started on that. I'm gonna pull this off the wall and get it down and get measurements taken. I should have enough scrap plywood around here to do this, hopefully, but we're about to find out. When I built this, I intentionally left this gap here to make it easier to grab, to get it off the wall. So that made it super easy to get off. And also, I mean, it saves a little bit of money on plywood too. So that also is nice. But that is just a small strip of plywood here. That's all you need for that to hold it onto the wall perfectly well. The top does all the holding. This just keeps it the same distance off the wall all the way. I think I've got a tentative plan here. This is all scrap cut off pieces of plywood, and it's probably about the last of my 3/4 inch plywood that I have here scrap wise. So what I found was this piece, which is pretty much perfectly already the right depth, and we could just keep it the same length as well. I think that would be a pretty good sized shelf there. And then this piece that I found, which works, it's almost the right depth, but it'll have to be cut off a little bit and then cut off this way as well. And then this piece, I was thinking it could be cut down and put somewhere around here, and I would do some sort of maybe a radius here to make it match up to where this radius is, or something like that. Maybe that can be done after I get the box for the shelf done. And then I've got one last piece down here, which will be just big enough to put like one solid shelf across here all the way, and that will just be a stationary shelf and not adjustable. I mean, I could do adjustable, but it's not a huge deal for me. I've already got some adjustable shelves there and then the other room, so having some be stationary is just perfectly fine by me. So I think this is what I'm gonna do. This seems like a pretty good plan, and I will see where this takes me as far as this side goes, if I want to just leave this open or put that shelf on there. Alright, so on the table saw, I just ripped it down to exactly 13 inches because that's what the depth of that shelf is. It was like a 1/16 of an inch too wide. And then on each side, neither of these edges were square, so I took them and squared them up on the chop saw. And now I'm going to clean up the edge because the chop saw typically leaves just a slight difference in where it cuts. Like this side is slightly cut more versus this side, and you can get it really close on a chop saw, and you can sit there and spend 10 minutes to get it basically exact. But what I'm going to do is just take some 80 grit sandpaper, sand the edge to where it's about the same, and then take it down with 150 just really quickly, just to make it a nice edge. And then I'll do the same on the other side, and it doesn't take that long to get done. All right, and so now that that's ready, we're gonna put this together with some glue, and I'm just gonna do some pocket screws on this side to make it easy, because this other side, these pieces are attached just with staples. I might have put glue in there, but I doubt it. But either way, I don't really want to remove this piece to put screws or anything in this way, so it's just gonna be a lot easier to just put some pocket screws in. So I'm just gonna make a few marks where I want those to go. And this side we'll probably just use some staples with glue. That's fine. I forgot to turn the vacuum cleaner on for the first cut, and it immediately let me know that with all the dust flying everywhere, but oh well. So that fits perfectly. It will just take a few taps with the hammer to get it to fit in there fine. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and mark the opposite side of here to throw in some pocket screws into that way, and then for this side I will go ahead and do just staples in each end along with glue, and then we will see what we can do for the middle shelf. Alright, over here I went ahead and marked a line, which is basically I measured this to see what the length was, and I marked over here using my square a line that'll match that, so that when I go to put this in, it's real easy to just line up this side and then hammer that into place, and I know exactly where that side needs to be to make it perfect. Alright, the shelf will fit in there perfectly with a little bit of encouragement. I think I'm just going to do, again, some glue and staples on this. It'll be good enough. More than good enough, really. So, a little bit quicker, easier. Alright, this was actually the cut off piece from this side piece that I trimmed down earlier, and depth wise it was already good, and then lengthwise it was just a little bit too long to fit here, so I just trimmed that down, and I think this will work good somewhere right in here. So what I'll probably do is just, I could just leave it, but I'll probably just go ahead and cut, maybe just do a radius or something here on the bandsaw, just to make it look somewhat nice. So I don't know, just whatever, we'll see how that looks. I think that looks good. That should work. So same thing, we're gonna glue and staple each end on that one, and then I think we'll be done with this. It's a little bit heavier this time. A little bit difficult to get it up there, mainly just because I can't get, if I could walk all the way to the wall with it, it'd be no problem. It's just with this in the way, it's a problem. I could have also probably removed all the stuff from that cabinet and then moved it off the wall and then put this one over there and then slid it over, but whatever. Got it up there. It actually, looks pretty good. and now I've got more places to store stuff. So that's another mini project done. Let's see what else we're gonna come up with. Next item on the agenda is just some basic maintenance for the chop saw here. Essentially, over time, there are small pieces that sometimes get stuck and down below here. Especially if a lot of times when I go to use a chop saw, the first thing I do is I put the board up there and I just cut the end off, a small sliver, and that's to make sure the end is square. And then a lot of times the end piece is nasty, messed up, or just not great. So I always do that, and so those small pieces sometimes fall in here, and over time they build up and become a problem because eventually they build up so high that your blade will hit them randomly, and then it'll shock out chunks and pieces. And so essentially I need to clean that up in there, and I've already gone through with like some tiny needle nose pliers and pulled out a bunch of the pieces that I could get to, but most of them I still couldn't get to. So in order to do that, I have to take one or both of these plastic pieces off, and in order to do that, because I've put these fences here, is I got to take the fence off. So let's go ahead and do that and get this knocked out really quick. And it's as simple as that. Another task completed. Moving on to the next one. I think this will be the last mini project that we will work on for this video, and that is going to be this miter gauge for this newish table saw. I hardly ever use a miter gauge on a table saw because I have a chop saw or miter saw, however you want to call it. So I use that 99% of the time, just because it's a lot better, in my opinion, for doing that sort of cuts. But there are some use cases where using the miter gauge on the table saw can be easier, especially for longer pieces, depth-wise, and if they're kind of bigger and bulkier, you know, squared up. So it just can be easier on the table saw sometimes, but again, it just depends on what I'm working on. So overall, hardly ever gets used, but there are situations where I do want to use a miter gauge on the table saw. So with that being said, I want to expand or extend the fence on this, and so I was thinking I have this piece of 1/4-inch poplar left over from some project. I was thinking about that, but the issue is going to be that it's going to be very hard to attach this here, either with screws or with like through bolts and then recessed. It's going to be very difficult with 1/4-inch. So I do have a cutoff of about a 1x4 poplar, and I think this is what I'll go with. It'll be more stable anyways. This little strip is bowed a little bit, and that just tends to happen with the thinner the material gets. So I think we'll go with this thicker board, and I'll probably just throw it through the planer a couple times just to try to help flatten it out. It's slightly off, and not by much though. Like it's manageable for what this is. But I'm gonna throw it through the planer just to kind of possibly mitigate that a little bit. And then we can just, with something this thick, I can just put a couple screws in here, and it'll be no problem. So let's get started. I think that'll work out pretty well. Give us quite a bit more support for cutting pieces, and we'll have support all the way basically to the edge of this plastic. And we got, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch between the wood and the blade there. Plenty of support though. So a lot better than just a standard stock bracket. So with that, thank everybody for watching. I know this was just a different kind of video than normal, but figured it'd be awesome just to hang out and see show what I had going on. So with that, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.